will be Jim Mason.
In that game, whether it was a starting or a relieving role.
Well, that all-star game will, of course, be on the CBC television network 1 week from tonight, and your fans across the country are hoping that you might be the starting pitcher in that one. You've had a lot of success here in the Olympic Stadium. Your last 2 starts have both been one-hitters.
Well, I tell you what, I wouldn't mind keeping that string going tomorrow night, but I think maybe I would accept the win. I don't know if there's any reason exactly for the success here, but I've had some games that have been solid, and I just hope to keep it up.
Steve, good luck tomorrow night in the All-Star game and over the balance of the season. And we'll return to activity here at Montreal's Olympic Stadium right after this.
At Olympic Stadium, the playing of the national anthems. Of the United States and Canada, sung by the Powell River Boys Choir from Powell River, BC. It's an overcast evening in Montreal. There were a few showers just a short while ago. The rain has stopped, and this game will start on time. with left-handers Dan Schatzeder pitching for the Expos and John Curtis for the San Francisco Giants. Expos leading the East by 4.5 games. Their record of 48-31. They have a 29-8 record here at Olympic Stadium. The Expos have not lost a series with any team since the 10th of June. Right now, we are looking at member of the board of directors of the Montreal Expos, Mr. Hugh Hallward, president of Argo Construction, a founding partner and member of the board of the ball club. He's presenting a check for $20,358 to Jean-Marc Paradis, president of the Quebec Federation of Amateur Baseball. The check represents Quebec's share of the gate receipts from the Pearson Cup game, which was played April 19th in Toronto. So there goes over $20,000 from the Expos and the Blue Jays. The proceeds of the Pearson Cup, of course, go toward amateur baseball in the province. And there you see Jean-Marc Paradis on the left and Hugh Hallward on the right.
And that game ended up in a tie as both ball clubs had to catch airplanes, but it's quite a game, and the money going to a charity like that, why it's very worthwhile, and the players enjoy playing in a game when the money goes to the youngsters so they can play baseball.
Now here they come. There's our friend Bruce Fremming. He'll call the balls and strikes tonight. And you see manager Joe Aldebelli moving into the screen there. Ozzie Virgil, Expos first base coach, coming into the screen to the right. The other umpires are Joe West, who will be at first base. He's in the center of that group. Jerry Dale on the extreme left, and out of the picture, Steve Fields. The umpires that will work this game.
Steve Fields out of the picture quite a bit. He's one of the substitute umpires, and the umpires just associate with him when they're on the field. And we've talked about that, I think, on other telecasts. But Bruce Fremming, look at him, and he's a beauty. He's not as tough as he looks. He has a heart of gold, but we'll probably have some stories about him as the game goes along. Look at Joe.
Yeah, and there's Expos manager Dick Williams. He's had much to be happy about. The Expos are 5-2 against the Giants this year. 3-1 here at the stadium, 2-1 at Candlestick Park. And here come the Expos onto the field. The Expos will be well represented at the All-Star game next Tuesday night. Steve Rogers, Expos right-hand pitcher, 9-game winner. He'll start here tomorrow night. Don talked with him before the ball game. Catcher Gary Carter will be on the All-Star team, and Expos pitching coach Jim Brewer is a member of the All-Star coaching staff. There's a look at the defense as they line up behind Dan Schatzeder. Duke, let's talk a little bit about Dan. I'll give you some numbers and let you tell the fans about him. He's 4-1 this year. He's making his 7th start, his 17th appearance. He won his last start July 6th. He has no decision in 2 relief appearances against the Giants, and that's the lineup he'll pitch to. North, Strain, and Clark, Ivy, Evans, and Herndon, Lemaster, Littlejohn, and Curtis. The San Francisco lineup.
It really doesn't matter too much to Schatzeder whether the batter's right-handed or left-handed, because he has the super stuff against both. He has a very good moving fastball, and the ball will sink down and away quite often from the right-handed batter, and of course could jam the left-handed batter. Only one left-handed batter in the lineup tonight as far as the 8 regular players are concerned, and of course that's Darrell Evans. But Schatzeder has a good hard curve and also a slower curve, and he has a good changeup. So Schatzeder, one of the better arms on the ball club. He's not like Lee or Grimsley. He comes right at you with the good hard stuff, and then we'll mix in the off-speed pitch to keep you honest.
Well, before the ball game, we asked Dan Schatzeder about the Giants hitters and how he'll pitch to them tonight.
Well, I've had pretty good success against the Giants over my career so far. One of the guys that's given me a lot of trouble is Larry Herndon, who's a good low ball hitter, and I like to keep the ball down, so I'm going to have to try to jam him a little bit tonight with the fastball and throw him off speed pitches. Another guy, Jack Clark, I've gotten him out keeping the ball away from him. I'm going to try that again tonight. Keep throwing him off speed pitches and maybe show him a fastball once in a while. But besides that, really their shortstops hurt me once in a while. The master, I don't know if he's in there tonight, but he's hit my fastball pretty well too. So I'm going to have to pretty well mix him up and see how the first few innings go and take it from there.
Dan Schatzeder, 24-year-old left-hander on the Giants lineup. And we're about set to get underway as Bill North comes to the plate. And Bill North batting .272, and he's the league's leading base stealer with 37 steals. And we asked Bill North about Dan Schatzeder and the Expos pitching overall.
Well, with Schatzeder is a good pitcher. The Expos pitching in general is they're not pitching over their heads. I think they're just kind of realizing the potential that they had and that they've been developing. They've got some good young arms down there, like Scott Sanderson can throw good. Grimsley's going to get you out, and Rudy May coming out of there, he's good. Schatzeder's a really good pitcher, and he'll do a good job for you. If he can go out there a little bit more often and be a consistent starter, then you're going to get a lot of games out of him. But generally speaking, the Expos pitching staff is really good, and it's going to carry them, I hope. Well, you know, because I'd like to see them win, you know, rather than Philadelphia for no particular reason, but just to go on and win because they deserve it.
2 strikes on Bill North quickly.
Schatzeder has 27 walks, one of those intentional this year, but a lot of those earlier in the season when the weather was cooler and he wasn't pitching regular. Basically has pretty good control.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Dan has won his last 3 decisions. Chance for Jim Mason. And an out at first base. One away. And Joe Strain coming up. Now this youngster is up out of the minor leagues. He's a rookie. Hit his first major league home run here last night. A 2-run home run off relief pitcher Rudy May. Joe Strain and the way he has developed at the minor league level was the big reason why the Giants determined that they could trade Bill Madlock, which they did to the Pittsburgh Pirates to get some pitching. And here's the youngster that has replaced Madlock, Joe Strain. Good bat control, good number 2 hitter. A called strike.
Schatzeder has that good fluid motion when he delivers a pitch. Should not have any arm problems. Watch him here. Good curve ball, but it hit well down the third baseline.
Strain is going to hold up right there with a single.
Pitch up just a little bit. Schatzeder wanted to get it down a little bit more, but he hit a shot right by Larry Parrish, and so far Joe Strain has shown us that he belongs in the big leagues.
And here's Jack Clark. Clark, just 23 years old. He's one of the top young power hitters in baseball. His stats show a .278 average, 16 home runs, 59 runs batted in. Against the Expos, he has gone 8 for 28, and he's hit 1 home run.
Now the youngsters watching tonight should watch Clark hit and watch his approach to a baseball, because he has a picture swing and a picture way to approach a baseball. Just watch him. He's very comfortable, good balance. Keeps that front left elbow down where it belongs. Watch him here. Good
Strike
swing.
2.
He missed it, but some kind of swing. You know, you don't feel cheated if you swing and miss and have a good cut. So many times, even last night's ball game, quite a few ball players did not have good cuts and went 0 for 5, 0 for 4. That's when you start talking to yourself.
I guess. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Jack Clark. The infield, of course, is at double play depth with a runner at first and 1 out. Top of the first inning at Olympic Stadium. The 1-2 pitch to Clark. That's into the seats behind first base. Perez started to chase it down and then backed away. We mentioned the Expos with a record of 48-31. The Giants are 42-45.
Another good thing about Clark as a hitter, he does not try to pull everything. He hits the ball where it's pitched. If the pitch is out over the plate, he'll try and go the other way with it.
Clark chosen today to represent the Giants on the All-Star Club. There's a foul ball back into the seat, so he'll be at the Kingdome in Seattle next Tuesday night. Clark leads the Giants and is 5th in the National League in RBIs. We mentioned his total of 59 as you look at him. His 59 RBIs thus far keep him even with the pace he set last season when he finished with 98. 98 runs, a lot of runs for a 22-year-old to drive in the National League.
Sure is, Dave.
2-2.
That pitch very tough to not swing at. It's breaking down. It comes in knee high, a little bit lower, and it looks so good to you. And you try to get down there and grind it out, but it's tough to lay off of them. That's why the pitcher's trying to break that ball. A left-handed pitcher to a right-handed batter will try and break that ball down in towards the knees. Usually top it and hit a grounder somewhere.
2-2 pitch. That's fouled off to the left side. Still 2-2. Clark coming back into the picture there. Really good balance at the plate.
He does that. He has his weight evenly distributed. Of course, your weight has to be back, and he'll get his weight completely back as pitch is being delivered. Cocks that bat real good.
That's fouled into the seats. Pretty fair crowd tonight. The Expos closing in on that 1 million mark in attendance. 827,551 so far, averaging over 22,000 a game. Johnson are working to keep Joe Strain close. The Giants stole some bases last night on Montreal pitchers. Dan Johnson are usually very good at keeping a runner close.
Now, Dick Williams was talking to Bill North about Sanderson and going through the motions of Sanderson, who pitched last night, goes through in his delivery, and he said maybe I could have stolen off Sanderson. I think Dick was exaggerating just a little bit.
Here's the 2-2 pitch, and Parrish. They get one there, and that's all.
Clark runs so well. He's tough to double up.
Clark on the fielder's choice. Strain retired at second. 2 down, and Mike Ivy coming up. Ivy batting .276, 11 home runs, 43 runs batted in. This young man is strong. He's the right-handed hitting first baseman for the Giants. You may have heard of the left-hand hitting first baseman with the Giants, one Mr. Willie McCovey.
Well, Dave, I take some credit here. Just to tell you a story about this kid, I put the first base glove on him as his manager. He didn't want to catch. I said, here, you be the next Gil Hodges, because Gil Hodges started as a catcher. Here's Parrish's high hopper, and he throws to second. Scott had to reach a little bit for the ball, couldn't get much on it, so he held on to it.
Ivy trying to go the other way, hit it foul, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Ivy had heard and been told so much about catchers being hurt and their careers shortened by injuries, and so he didn't want any part of catching, and flipped him the glove and says, you be the next Gil Hodges. Well, he really hasn't had the opportunity. He's in the shadow now of Willie McCovey, waiting for him to retire. But this young man can swing a bat and do an adequate job at first base. They got the runner.
Picked up. Perez down to second, and Scott didn't hold on to the ball.
Well, that's going to be called a stolen base. But we've had that play happen maybe 3 or 4 times this year, and a good throw would have gotten the base runner. But the rules say that if a runner breaks like he's stealing a base and you don't get him, why, it's a stolen base. So it's an error, but it's a stolen base.
I think maybe Rodney was screened. We don't have a replay, not yet anyway, and Scott might have been screened.
See, that's a nice thing about having a left-handed throwing first baseman. He can come at another angle, and the guy that's catching the ball can see the ball coming. Sometimes the runner gets in line with the flight of the ball and you don't see it. You just reach and hope that your glove is where the ball is going to be.
2 balls, 1 strike to count on Ivy, and Clark now at second base. That is stolen base number 6 on the year for Clark. The Giants love to run. They're running this year like never before. Foul back out of play. The Giants have been successful in 44 of their last 54 base stealing attempts. They've already stolen 87 bases, 1 fewer than they stole all of last season. And we're just now moving in on the the Giants have passed the halfway mark in games played. This is their 88th game. It's game number 80 for the Expos. Tomorrow night marks the halfway point of the season in terms of games played for Montreal. 81 games is half a season. 2-2 pitch. Got him. Ivy strikes out, no runs, a hit, and Clark is left at second base after a half inning of play. The Giants nothing, and the Expos coming to bat. At Olympic Stadium in Montreal, the Expos will come to bat here as we look at the Giants and the way they line up around John Curtis, the left-hander who's pitching tonight's ball game
I'm going to turn it off now.
for San Francisco. Curtis 4-5, his 8th game starting, his 17th game overall. As a starting pitcher, Curtis is 3-3 with a 2.93 ERA. He's allowed 2 earned runs or less in each of his last 4 starts, allowing 5 earned runs in 25 innings in those games. In his 3 losses as a starter this year, the Giants haven't gotten him any runs. Before the ball game, we asked John Curtis, there's the lineup, we asked John Curtis about the Expos and how he's going to try to pitch to this lineup.
Well, I know the difficulty left-handed pitchers have had with the Expos so far this year, and this will be my first time facing them, and my feelings going into the game are to try and be just as aggressive with them as they have been with left-handed pitchers, and try and pitch my game, which is keeping the ball down primarily, and working in breaking balls, either when I'm behind in the count and also ahead in the count, and try to make them hit the pitches that I want them to hit, and hope that our defense will be there to convert them into outs.
Well, he got Warren Cromartie. That's a big step. And here's the number 2 hitter, Rodney Scott, with 1 out, nobody on. Curtis getting a strike in there. The Expos, and Curtis referred to their success against left-hand pitching, the Expos have won 11 and lost just 4 to left-handed pitchers.
Well, the type of left-handed pitcher that can give any club trouble, and especially the Expos, is a type of left-handed pitcher that can turn the ball over a little bit, off-speed pitching, or a good curve ball, and we'll see what Curtis does tonight.
Scott wraps the ball on the ground to Evans, the third baseman, and he's out at first base, 2 away. So Rodney retired, 2 down, and Andre Dawson coming up. 25-year-old center fielder. He's had trouble against the San Francisco staff. He's hitting .270 for the year, but way under that against the Giants. He's 6 for 31, and that works out to a .194 batting average against San Francisco. So this Giants staff has pitched very well to Andre Dawson, and they've given him some problems.
Well, we're not trying to say that the Expos are so devastating that any left-hander that walks out there, they're going to knock out of the box. They can be gotten out with a left-hander.
The master has to hurry. Got it there just in time on a close play at first base. Dawson's speed made that a close play. And the Expos go 1-2-3 against left-hander John Curtis in the first. After 1 inning of play, the score, the Giants nothing, the Expos nothing. Yeah. Okay, and we got a note on the Yep. Yep. Back at Olympic Stadium, no score in the game, and we're moving to the second inning. Again, we'll mention with Bob McDevitt away covering the Pan Am games, and Don Whitman is with us tonight. Don, there's been a lot of talk about the Expos, I'm sure, from coast to coast this year as compared to maybe the last few when there was some disappointment. The club's got a lot of people talking.
Well, the Expos have certainly caught the fans' attention out west, and you know, for a while, I think a lot of people were more inclined to lean towards a major league team closest to the Canadian city in which they lived, particularly in Western Canada. But now with the success the Expos have enjoyed so far this year, a lot of fans have suddenly jumped on the Expo bandwagon.
Sure, that's true, and of course it's rekindled an old love affair as the Expos pioneered the country way back in 1969. Here's Darrell Evans hitting .257 with 9 home runs and 39 runs batted in. A strong left-handed batter, 32-year-old veteran. He's hit 1 home run this year against the Expos.
Hey, Don, you've watched games from the press level and on TV. How does it look from down there? Look any easier?
It's quite a different view, Duke. Watching the game from down at field level, I can appreciate the talents of these players much, much more standing down here at field level and watching proceedings.
Perez making the play unassisted on Evans. That's going to bring Larry Herndon up. He's playing in left field tonight. We mentioned how the Giants staff has pitched so well to Andre Dawson, Expos center fielder. Expos staff's done a real number on Herndon, who is hitting .307 as you see, but he's 3 for 17 against Montreal. A called strike. He's from one of our favorite cities, Sunflower, Mississippi.
He came into the game last night and went 0 for 6. And he had a streak going at that time.
A 13-inning ball game last night. 1-1 pitch. Fouled back. That game last night was really strange. The Expos had a 4-0 and a 5-1 lead. Then the game was tied at 5 for several innings. Then the Giants took a 7-5 lead in the 9th inning. The Expos rallied in the bottom of the 9th to tie it at 7. They were going wild at the stadium. And then one of the strangest, weirdest innings. Everything went wrong for the Expos and in favor of the Giants, and the Giants got 4 in the 13th inning. So I guess old number 13 caught up with Woody Fryman and the Expos, and the Giants won last night's ball game.
Speaking of 13, Friday night against the San Diego Padres is Friday the 13th, and the Expos play a doubleheader.
I will hope that number 13 catches up with the Padres.
Right.
Expos fans will anyway. 2-2 the count on Herndon, and Johnny LeMaster coming up, and Schachter blew that ball right by him. Second strikeout for Dan Schachter. We'll take a look at that strikeout pitch as we see LeMaster step in.
Well, you see Schachter right here challenge the hitter Herndon, and he just threw it right on by. Good high hummer.
Johnny LeMaster. Ball 1. He's very slight of build. He stands 6'2", but he only weighs 160 pounds.
That's why he was rested last night, did not play, and LeMaster, he said if he hit .220, he's such a good shortstop, but if he had .220 for the ball club, he would really help them. They're getting a bonus. He's hitting .254.
1 ball and 1 strike, 2 outs. Top of the second, the Giants batting, no score. And ball 2. Schachter behind 2-1. We hope that no matter where you are, you'll enjoy tonight's baseball game from Olympic Stadium in Montreal. This afternoon, one game, the Mets beat the Dodgers 4-3. Dodgers have lost 7 of their last 9. Pitch inside, and they're in the basement in the West. I referred on the pregame portion of our telecast to Houston as the surprise in the West. There are several ways to look at that Western Division. Some people say, no, the surprise in the West is the Dodgers.
They lost today.
Yeah. Three and one on Lemaster. Might be a play here for Perez near the dugout. Three up, three down, nothing for the Giants. And after 1.5, no score between Montreal and San Francisco. Here's tonight's baseball quiz. Who was the only man ever to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning twice in his career? And here's our first clue. Clue number 1 on tonight's quiz. He was born in Mobile, Alabama, and he's played in both major leagues. The only man ever to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning twice in his career. Well, there's our quiz for you tonight, so we'll let you work on that. We have several more clues coming up, and we'll give you the answer later in the game. Tony Perez hitting .294, 7 home runs, 42 runs batted in, 37-year-old veteran.
And the Expo players lean on Tony an awful lot. He's the experienced man in that lineup. He and Spire when Spire's playing, but Tony more so because he's the RBI guy and he gets so many key hits.
Perez has 8 game-winning RBIs. He's tied for Dawson with the club lead in that department. That's into the seats. Tony Perez, an all-star 7 times. 67, 68, 69, 70, 74, 75, 76.
Well, there's a lot of people that are upset that he was not picked on the all-star team this year, and I think he deserves the honor. He's really carrying the brunt of the load on this ball club.
He chased one there. The catcher, Little John, can't find it. Now he has recovered, and the throw to first to get Perez. So a strikeout for Curtis, his first, and the put-out goes Little John to Ivy. And Gary Carter coming to the plate. And we asked him about facing off for the Giants. He's been hitting marvelously well against the San Francisco Giants. As we look at Perez here, striking out, and that ball being missed by Little John, and there's Perez.
Tony chased a bad pitch that time.
Right. Gary Carter stepping in. He's batting .357 with 5 home runs against the Giants. We asked him why.
Pitch selection, and it doesn't really have to do with the Giants in particular, but I do feel comfortable at the plate with their pitching, and as long as they keep giving me the pitches, I guess I'll just go ahead and keep hitting it.
Amen. They throw that ball while you're swinging.
Right.
Keep swinging, right.
You give it to me, I'll take it. He's fouled at the plate. Strike 2 on Gary. Gary Carter, named today to the National League All-Star team, so he'll be going for the 2nd time.
Well, there's a chance. There's a chance Carter and Rogers could start that game, but Tommy Lasorda might go with Johnny Bench and let him start, being that Simmons isn't on the team because of an injury.
2 strikes on Gary. Ball 1. 25 years old now. caught his first professional game in the Gulf Coast League in 1972. I asked him who pitched. He said, I can't remember. He hit that a ton to center, and North is back there. Two away. Bill North pulled that in, and Ellis Valentine is coming up.
Now, when Curtis threw that pitch and Carter hit it to center field, he walked about halfway in towards home plate as Gary was running the ball out, and he didn't even watch North catch the ball. What he did was talk to his catcher and try and just figure out exactly about the pitch. He asked the catcher where it was, and it was up a little bit too much. He wants to get it down a little lower than that.
One strike on Ellis Valentine. Kelly's done well against the Giants. 6 for 16, a .375 average. He's a big man, 6'4", 210. Strong. He can hit the ball out to any field. He can hit home runs to right, center, or left. This one will not go. Ivy. The Giant left-hander for the second inning in a row has put the Expos down in order 1, 2, 3. So John Curtis doing a job here, and after 2 innings of play, the Expos nothing and the Giants nothing. There's a good look at Dan Schatzeder pitching tonight's game for the Expos. No score as we move into this, the third inning of play at Olympic Stadium. Dan, 24 years old. He was born in Elmhurst, Illinois, lives in Villa Park, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. He'll face Dennis Littlejohn, the San Francisco catcher.
Dave, I had a nice talk with Joe Altobelli tonight, Giant manager, and asked him about his ball club and what their thoughts were, being 10 games behind. He says, you know what, he says, this Expos series and the Mets series over the weekend are the 2 biggest series for them so far this season. They figure that Houston is going to lose a few this week, and if they can go in and do well against the Expos and do well against the Mets, go into the All-Star break, come back fresh after that with a positive thought in their mind those 3 off days, why it could help the ball club immensely.
Called strike on Dennis Littlejohn. Giants normally catch Mark Hill and Mike Sadik. Sadik's been a workhorse lately because Hill has an injured hand. And so Dennis Littlejohn getting a chance to catch a couple of ball games. This is just his second game.
And his first major league hit.
There it is. Big league hit number 1.
And they're going to get the baseball. The Giants hollering for the ball. And that's a treasure to keep when you get your first major league hit. So the ball coming out of the ball game, and Littlejohn has a souvenir. And later on, maybe tomorrow, well, he'll probably get Dan Schatzeder to autograph it for him. After things cool off a little bit.
Yeah. John Curtis, the pitcher here, looks like it could be a low run affair, although the Giants have great faith in their ability to score a lot of runs, and they know the Expos are an explosive ball club. But this is a bunt situation here with the pitcher up. So far, this one shaping up as a pitcher's battle into the 3rd inning, but that's very early. See the third baseman Parrish playing in. Perez will hold the runner, then he'll break in.
Well, they'll try for second base here because Littlejohn doesn't run that well.
There's the bunt.
Good bunt. They can't go anywhere but first.
No. Perez making the play to Scott, covering at first. Good bunt by Curtis. Littlejohn down to second base. And the top of the order coming up, Bill North. We mentioned earlier Bill North leading the National League in stolen bases with 37. Pittsburgh's Omar Moreno is second with 33. Rodney Scott's tied for fourth. Scott in tonight with 23 stolen bases for the Expos.
North ran into the same problem when he went from the Dodgers to the Giants as I did. I always wore the number 4. Went to the Mets and wore the number 4. He always wore number 4. But when you get to the Giants, that number's been retired. It was worn by Mel Ott, so you don't get number 4 when you go to the Giants.
Inside and ball 1 to Bill North, 31-year-old veteran. Bill North was born in the city that will host the All-Star game next Tuesday night, Seattle. Dawson in center field. 2 away. And Joe Strain comes to the plate, 25-year-old rookie. Got a base hit in the first inning. He's 1 for 1. Dan Schatzeder. Dan's record last year and lifetime against the Giants is 1-0.
Well, the Expos are trying to learn how to pitch and play Strain defensively.
He takes strike 1.
There's advantages and disadvantages of coming into a league. The pitchers usually don't know you, and you don't know the pitchers.
1 ball, 1 strike.
That's why they always say when a guy gets off real good pitching or hitting, say the first month and a half of the season, says wait till the second time around and see how he does.
2 outs, 1-1 pitch.
Good pitch, jammed it.
Parrish gets it over there for the 3rd out. So that's it for the Giants in the 3rd. They made a little noise, a leadoff single by Dennis Littlejohn, but he's stranded on base. Now midway in the 3rd inning, still no score in the game. Into the 3rd inning now, and the bottom 3rd of the Expos batting order coming up. Parrish, Mason, and Schatzeder. The Expos tonight have several other clubs to watch. They play everybody's playing the watching game now. Cubs just 4.5 back, Phillies 5.5, Pittsburgh 6.5. Mets won their ball game this afternoon, the last place club. But that scoreboard game goes on from now till the end of the season, right, Duke?
Well, it does that. You just keep it in your head. Usually, you know how many games you're ahead. Percentage points aren't really as important as games behind or games ahead. And that half a game, of course, is when the odd game is either one team's played 1 more, or 2 more, or 3 more than the other, and it has to be an odd number, of course, for that half a game. But you watch it, but I don't think anybody's looking at it quite yet. It's an all-star break, only halfway for some clubs, and you've got tonight's game really to worry about. And when you go about it that way, you're better off because you start peeking over your shoulder, and someone might be gaining on you, like Satchel Paige said about his age. He says, "I never look back. Something's gaining on me, and I don't want to look back and see it."
Ball 1 to Larry Parrish, who hit a home run here last night. He now has 8 for the year.
It's tough to do, but if you just go out and win your ball game, you don't care what anybody does.
Don't have to worry about it. There's a look at the shin guard. Larry Parrish got hurt in Chicago on the recent road trip. Fouled the ball off the top of his left foot. And that guard extends down, protecting the shin and the top of the foot. Two and one the count on Larry.
We were playing 1962. We were playing the Cardinals in St. Louis with a week and a half to go in the season, and Bob Gibson was supposed to pitch against us that night in St. Louis. During batting practice, he took a swing and broke his ankle, and we're all over there loosening up, getting ready to take our batting practice, and laughing and say, "Boy, we can't catch a break, can we?" Here, one of the greatest pitchers in baseball, pitching against him, he breaks his ankle. They put Kurt Simmons in to take his place. And would you know, Simmons beat us 2 games in that next week and a half.
Isn't that always the way it is?
Right.
Here's Jim Mason up for the first time, and he is subbing for the injured shortstop Chris Spire. Jim, a left-handed batter, 28-year-old veteran. He's done a very good job in the field. And that, of course, was the reason the Expos got him. He's very good insurance at short.
We got to get Don down there to shake some of those bats and get them hot, get the cobwebs off of them. Don, can you do anything about those bats down there?
I can certainly try, Duke, but you asked earlier if there was any significant difference in watching the game from field level from being up in the press box, and I can assure you there is. You must be much more alert. You recall that one that Tony Perez fouled off earlier.
Right.
It came very close to the camera and myself.
You get a glove.
Don, you know the thing that's always amazed me about being in the dugout, because that's where the managers run the ball game. It's so easy up here to see where everybody's position. There we look into the Expos dugout. Chris Spire, who's sitting out with a bad back right now. Jim Mason playing for him and draws a walk here, and the pitcher coming up. But Don, the point I was going to make, the manager looks out on the field from the same view that you have there, and he knows where everybody is, and he can move an outfielder or an infielder 1 or 2 steps one way or another. It's easy to see it from up here, but it's always amazed me that they can tell exactly where people are playing down there. I'm sure because you're not used to that vantage point, as you look out, you can't really tell how deep the outfielders are, whether they're within 20 feet of the warning track or 50 feet.
It certainly does make a difference and gives you an entirely different perspective, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, or whatever. When you're right down at field level, you really pick up a vast difference in the setting and the way the game develops.
I know one thing that Don's going to hear tonight, and we'll get him to comment in a bit. There's a foul off to the right. He's going to hear the baseball language. The universal language of baseball and dugouts. You'll have some interesting reports on that a little bit later in the game. But no, the thing that...
This is a family broadcast, remember.
Oh, yes. The bunt defense, as you see, is in order here with shots that are up. Good hitting pitcher. Back on the screen, 1 and 2. We'll see whether or not they keep the bunt sign on with 2 strikes. And shots that are up there. Mason at first base, the first base runner for the Expos.
They just come back to the bench and say, "Doggone it, I struck out." That's all. Very simple language.
Yeah. 1 and 2, the count on Schatzeder.
Schatzeder strikes out.
Right.
You know, Billy Southworth was managing the Boston Braves, and Eddie Stanky was playing for that team, and Southworth was very upset with the profanity that was being used by his players when they come back to the bench. So he said there's going to be a fine if there's any more profanity on the bench when they came back, when they struck out or did something wrong up to the plate. And so Eddie Stanky come back and it popped up to the shortstop. He came back to the bench and he said, "Ho, ho, ho, I popped up and I'm glad."
Take that.
He got fined for that.
Bouncing ball, single. Mason going to third. Key base hit up the middle by Cromartie to send Mason to third with 2 outs. Let's take a look at the hit.
Yeah, Cromartie goes right back through the middle with this curveball. Stays on it good, did not give any ground. Curtis tried for it, but it's shot by him. And Mason He didn't hesitate. He had third base in mind. Took a little peek as he rounded second, but did not hesitate.
Rodney Scott 0 for 1. Takes a ball. Scott, a switch hitter, batting right-handed. He's hitting .295 for the year.
Well, Cromartie broke up the no-hitter, by the way.
Yeah. After 2 2/3 innings. Not quite to the stage where you write home about it.
Well, Rodney Scott with 2 home runs this year, both hitting right-handed. One against the Giants, Phil Nastu, a left-handed pitcher, out at Candlestick Park.
Ball 3. And if Curtis loses Scott, Dawson's going to come up with the bases loaded.
And Dawson is overdue.
Three and 1. Giants scored 11 runs last night. Have to go way back to May 27th, the last time a team scored in double figures against the Expos. Pitches ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Dawson. Expos pitching has been very good. There's a look at the base runners.
You know, last night Dawson came up in the 11th inning with the bases loaded and 2 outs. The winning run at third base, and he did not have a good cut. Andre ended up hitting a little tapper to shortstop, a little check swing to end the inning. Let's see if he has some better cuts here tonight.
Dawson's hit 2 of those 14 home runs against the Giants. Taking a pitch, and it's ball 1.
Well, he was taking all the way that time, and Larry Shepard, the pitching coach for the Giants, is going to go out and talk to his pitcher and try and settle him down. It looked like Dick Williams gave Dawson the take, going to make him take a strike.
Here's Larry Shepard, who for years was Sparky Anderson's pitching coach over at Cincinnati. Prior to that, he was with the Pirates, had a brief 10 years manager of the Pirates.
Right, Larry, really a nice guy. He was let go from Cincinnati along with Sparky, and one of the chief complaints of that Cincinnati club was the handling of the pitching staff. They called Sparky for pulling them too fast, and Larry Shepard got some of the blame too.
2 outs, bases loaded. The 1-0 pitch to Dawson. And it's popped up. Center fielder Bill North under it. That's it for the Expos. No runs, 1 hit, and they left 3 men on base. And after 3 innings of play at the stadium, the score remains the Giants nothing, the Expos nothing.
He's down to 260s now. A number 3 hitter on the club.
Right on.
Let's go now.
This Saturday on CBC Television, Sports Weekend presents same-day satellite coverage of the British Grand Prix auto race from Silverstone, England. A thrilling Formula One event, the British Grand Prix, this Saturday on Sports Weekend. And next Tuesday, 1 week from tonight, CBC Sports brings you, pardon me, not 1 week from tonight, next Tuesday, 6 days from tonight. CBC Sports brings you the 50th annual All-Star Baseball game from the Kingdome in Seattle. That's July 17th for the best in the American League against the best in the National League in the All-Star game on CBC Television on July 17th, next Tuesday night.
And I will be watching right here on CBC. I know you'll be watching, Duke. You're going to be home in Fallbrook, California, and you'll watch the All-Star game.
Boy, Dave, I'll tell you, I never miss it. I was fortunate enough to be on 8 All-Star teams, and I never miss it. I root for the National League. I've been a National Leaguer all my life, and I hope they win again.
Well,
it's a big thrill to be on that team.
I'm going to visit my in-laws, and we'll be watching it in Rouen, Quebec, way up north. But the CBC is everywhere, and I will see the game. 1 strike on Jack Clark.
Gary don't
Carter
see
can't
it.
find
He
it.
does not see that ball.
Schatzeder almost caught it.
Gary looked up. That's the first time we have seen this in Olympic Stadium. We have seen it in other ballparks where there's a certain time of the night where the ball goes up high and the lights have not taken effect high and you don't see the ball. But this is the first time at Olympic Stadium we have seen that.
Right. Now Gary's going to say, Brucey, why didn't you help me? See,
he doesn't know where it is.
Bruce doesn't know either. Hello. Look at Gary put his glove on his head. That tells it all. That tells it all. He wants to hide. Oh, no.
He's got the helmet on,
How
Gary.
How can I do that? 2 strikes on Jack Clark.
If you're looking up, put it over your face.
That was a pretty good rip right there. Fouled straight back by Clark.
There are times that you feel like doing that, I'll tell you. Just digging a hole. Crawling in it when you don't see the ball out there. Not a thing you can do about that. Ooh.
Parrish at the hot corner. Perez handled it at first. A shot right at the third baseman, and Perez had to scoop it out over at first base, and that's why Parrish is unhappy with himself.
Well, Larry fighting that hot grounder. Had plenty of time, but threw it low, but Tony scooped it out of the dirt. Tough chance. That ball bounced high. Here's the golden boy from Atlanta, Georgia. Decatur, Georgia. He's strong. He is strong. Oh, they had to call timeout. A helmet was thrown out on the field, and I'm sure it's Jack Clark's. Very upset because he hit the ball so hard and it had to be at somebody. You know, you like to see that in a hitter. A guy that does not accept an out easily. There are too many players you see sometimes that accept being out at first base too easily. Dave Bristol, former Expo coach, manager of several clubs in the major leagues.
1 ball and 1 strike. 1 out, nobody on. Ivy struck out in the first inning. Schatzeder coming at him here. And that might be playable near the seats. Perez over there looking. Two away.
Now Tony stuck that big basket up there and pulled that one out of the air. Boy, is that glove big. Look at it. My word. Here goes Tony after it. Watch him stick that basket in the air. No way you can drop a ball. Look at that. The ball just got lost in that glove.
Evans steps in. Check the number on his back, and there's significance to that number. Well, check it on his front. It's the same one that's on his back. 41. Evans hit 41 home runs in 1973 while with the Atlanta Braves, joining Hank Aaron and Davey Johnson as the only teammate trio in history with 40 or more in a season. And he's not going to forget about it, and he's not going to let the baseball world forget about it. 41 is now his number. Needless to say, the partner's home run totals was not his number.
The last year I played it was.
Just the number in total bases you usually had per hit, that's all. Fouled into the seats, 1 and 2, and there's Gary.
Well, we got a second. I'd like to say hello to a lot of the Canadian friends of mine that I've met in the Fallbrook area. We'll see Evans foul this pitch off. A lot of people come down to the Hemet and Fallbrook area during the wintertime and play the Fallbrook golf course and all the golf courses in our area, and I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of them, and I'd like to tell them hello. I told them I would. So hope you're enjoying the game.
Perez will make the play unassisted. And that's it for the Giants in the fourth. Dan Schatzeder has put them down 1-2-3. So this is a pitcher's battle here through 3.5 innings anyway. The Giants nothing, the Expos nothing. Expos mascot Yuppie up visiting with the fans.
Now, Yuppie has a lot of fun, and the fans really love him.
Yeah, and you know, in addition to being named Yuppie and being a mascot, I don't know really what he is, but he does have a lot of ham in it, that's for sure.
He does that. And he can dance.
Yeah, and the fans love it. They have a great time with him. Here's Tony Perez, struck out in the second. Remember, he chased that pitch, and it almost got by Dennis Littlejohn. 1 ball, no strikes. Bottom of the fourth, no score. Clark. 1 away. Gary Carter up. Expos and the Giants play here again tomorrow night to conclude the 3-game series. They'll meet one more time on the West Coast. The Expos go to the West Coast for their final tour of Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego right after the All-Star break. Steve Rogers, the Expos All-Star pitcher, will be pitching here tomorrow night, looking for his 10th win. John Montefiusco for the Giants, looking for his 2nd.
Now, Gary got another pitch up, but
yeah,
almost the same result, a little bit more towards left center field this time.
And Bill North made the play, and Ellis Valentine coming up with 2 outs and nobody on in the 4th. There's Big Ellis. Ellis Valentine had been out for over a week with a hip injury. He came back into action, re-injured the hip in Chicago, but has stayed in the lineup. And we asked him about his health before the ball game.
First of all, coming back in the lineup, I'm feeling pretty good. It's not all the way worked out yet, but you know, it's good enough for me to play out.
So Ellie's not 100%, but he's in the lineup. That hip has bothered him. When he re-injured it in Chicago, it was in running out a ball to first base.
We have to talk about the play he made last night, Dave.
Here's a mile-high pop-up. That'll get up into the radar. LeMaster, he's got it. The shortstop with the goatee makes the play. 3 up, 3 down, nothing for the Expos in the 4th. We'll go to the 5th inning of play at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. The Giants and the Expos are scoreless. Our quiz tonight: who's the only man ever to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning twice in his career? We gave you 1 clue. Here's number 2. He was an all-star game teammate of Duke Snider. So there's clue number 2 for you to go with clue 1. He was born in Mobile, Alabama, and he has played in both major leagues.
You know what?
So now you got a couple of clues to work on.
You know one thing for sure right there, that he's no youngster. If he and I played in an all-star game together. That's got to narrow it down a little bit.
Well, that might.
He's got to have some gray hair or none at all. Bruce, how are you?
Countenance of Bruce Fremming, the plate umpire.
Bruce says, how come you don't come and see me anymore? Last year we gave him a gift certificate to a fine restaurant here in Montreal, and now that they got their raise, I told him, I said, we don't have to give you any gift certificates to any restaurants anymore. Well, you got your raise, you can take us out to dinner. He said, ha ha.
Dan Schatzeder will pitch to Herndon, Lemaster, and Littlejohn for the Giants here in the 5th. Herndon struck out in the 2nd. Low and in.
I want to get back to that Valentine thing that happened last night, if we can, right here.
Okay, a play that Valentine made. He was in
very
right
often.
field.
It's been attempted a few times, but a line drive to right field. Evans hit the ball. Valentine charged it and threw Evans out at first base where he could get there. And that's just a play that I think I've seen happen about 3 times in my career.
I've seen Ellis do it twice. I saw Rusty do it once. Rusty stopped. 3-1 now, the count on Herndon. Three and two. Dan fighting back here. Larry Herndon, the batter.
You didn't see that.
3-2.
Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that answer.
That is not a right-handed Willie McCovey at the plate. 3-2 pitch. On the way to left. Cromartie under it. One down in the 5th. And Lemaster coming up. Here's a look at Dan Schatzeder. Had a 7-7 record last year, 13-9 lifetime in the National League. Another one of the homegrown Expos. Fly ball to Valentine. Out number 2. That's one of the things that is so satisfying for the Montreal fans that have stuck with this ball club right from the beginning, that they're seeing the team do something here in this 1979 season, and they're doing it with so many homegrown ball players. The entire outfield signed and brought up through the Expos farm system. Cromartie, Dawson, Valentine, Parrish, the third baseman, Carter, the catcher, the pitcher, Dan Schatzeder in this case tonight. 1 strike on Dennis Littlejohn. He's a rookie. Ball 1. He's noted for his defensive plays. The number 3 catcher on the Giants squad. This is just his 2nd ball game. Parrish at third with another hot shot.
Great play.
Gets it on to first for the out. 3 up, 3 down for the 2nd inning in a row. Nothing here for the Giants, and Dan Schatzeder's working on a 2-hitter. And John Curtis, the Giant pitcher, is working on a 1-hitter. And we're midway in the 5th inning with no score in the game. If I got a minute.
Yeah, okay, Don Brown. Yeah.
Well, as we go into the bottom of the 5th inning, the Expos will lead it off with Larry Parrish. Parrish struck out in the 3rd inning. And show you how much we know about this game of baseball. We said the Expos hit left-handed pitching so well that they welcome the sight of a John Curtis out there. John Curtis has given up 1 hit, that to a left-handed batter. See some of the Expo players: Ross Grimsley, Steve Rogers, Scott Sanderson, Tommy Hutton, chewing his gum. Like they're worried to death, doesn't it? 3 pitchers and captain of the bus squad, Tommy Hutton, all starting pitchers.
Don Whitman, did you see the bus squad warm-up area?
I saw that prior to the game, the warm-up area just behind the Expo dugout, and they take this bus squad tag rather seriously, don't they?
They sure do. That's a well-equipped area back there.
I'll tell you something else I discovered down here at field level. Bruce Fleming, the plate umpire, takes his job very seriously. He came over and in no uncertain terms suggested what we could do with our monitor down here. He made us remove it.
Brucey doesn't want anybody in that dugout having access to a replay, I would guess.
A lot of the players, there's the protective guard for Larry Parrish. He hit a ball into his ankle in Wrigley Field. He was out a few games, but came back strong on Monday night. Had a couple of hits, drove in a run. And the umpires don't like that. The manager and all the players will run over and look at the replay, and then the manager comes out and starts arguing, so he wants to get away from that.
Right, and that's the discretion of the crew. There's not a steadfast rule. For example, in our game in St. Louis, there was a monitor in the dugout when we telecast out of there. The players were looking at off and on all night. The umpires there elected not to say anything or do anything about that. Just depends on the crew and how they feel about it.
I'll tell you one thing, I wouldn't want to get into an argument with him.
With Bruce?
With Bruce?
He'd be nice to you.
He's a tiger.
He could outrun him.
Parrish out of there. 1 down in the 5th. The only hit so far off John Curtis was a single up the middle by Warren Cromartie in the 3rd. We're now in the 5th inning and no score. And Jim Mason coming up. Mason, who walked in the 3rd.
Bruce Fleming was umpiring a game in the minor leagues before coming up to the majors. It was a Texas League championship game, playoff game, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ball 2, and he was umpiring 3rd base, and the Tulsa runner on 2nd base was scoring on a base hit, and he missed 3rd base.
Strain, the 2nd baseman, over to Ivy for out number 2, and
the team that happened to be Albuquerque. Albuquerque players appealed the play. It ended up being the winning run. They appealed the play, and Bruce Fleming called the runner out. And he went on into extra innings, and Albuquerque won the championship. And they had to get a patrol car to take Bruce to the airport in his uniform to get him out of town. He said he missed the base. What am I going to do? He said, I have to call it the way I see it.
1 strike on Dan Schatzeder. He struck out trying to bunt in the 3rd. Curtis on the mound with the fielding play, and another 3-up, 3-down inning. Nothing across here for the Expos. We'll return with the coverage of Major League Baseball 79 after station identification.
Oh, listen, there's a cool man.
Howard is the director of the Montreal Expos, and in a pregame ceremony, a presentation made to amateur baseball in the province of Quebec.
That's right. This was the Quebec share of the proceeds from the attendance at the exhibition game held in May between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Montreal Expos. Last year the game was in Montreal. Next year the game's in Montreal. And this was the proceeds for the development of amateur baseball in Quebec.
Check for better than $20,000.
That's right. And next year we're hoping for more.
And next year, hopefully, the game will end in a decision.
Yes. You've got to remember that this year the decision to have a curfew was made before the game started. And unfortunately, the announcement was made in Toronto only at the beginning of that last inning. So there was a feeling, I think, among certain fans that the Expos were sort of copping out a little bit. The truth of the matter is that it had been established 4 hours in advance.
Okay, at any rate, amateur baseball in this province certainly receives the benefits of that game, and hopefully more will be added to the funds next year. Okay, let's go back upstairs to Duke and Dave.
Okay, thanks, Don. And a chat with member of the Expos Board of Directors, Mr. Hugh Hallward. I'll tell you something about Hugh, Duke. He is probably, well, not probably, I say unquestionably, on that board of directors, he is the baseball fan and expert. He can tell you everything about everybody, anytime, anywhere. He is really up on the game. He's up on the club as an organization, everybody in the minor leagues. He's really into baseball, the game of baseball. He loves the game, knows it exceptionally well, knows it inside and out.
He loves to talk the game of baseball, and that's the way you learn.
Curtis up there.
Schatzeder's having a problem here. He's not given up a walk, and he's 3-0 to the pitcher of all people. Curtis 2 for 15 this year. Has a 160 lifetime batting average.
And he lost him on 4 pitches. Now we'll see what the Giants do with that. The first walk given up by Dan Schatzeder. And that brings Bill North to the plate. All right, Duke, you know Bill North here. What would you have him do?
Well, with Bill North's speed, he's injured a little bit. He still stole a couple of bases last night, but with his speed, why, you could go 2 ways with him. You could have him bunt, which I think he will be doing.
There's the bunt, third base side.
Because he could beat it out.
Just in time at first with Scott covering. Good play by Parrish, and Curtis is down at second base.
Larry calling Schatzeder off and had to throw on the run because, as we mentioned, North can get down that line. They got him by a step and a half.
A good view of that. Had the complete play there by Parrish, and here's another look.
North, a good bunter. He got the bat out there where it belongs on a bunt, out in fair territory. Carter on the hustle to third base to cover third. You saw him go out of the picture. It's his job to get over to third so that the base runner on first base cannot get all the way to third base.
Strain 1 for 2, got a base hit in the first. The rookie second baseman. That's trouble if it's fair, but it's a foul ball. Strain has shown one thing here, Duke, the last couple of nights. The left-hander makes a mistake, he can hit the ball with power.
Well, he can. He gets that big end of the bat out front. He chokes the bat, as you see there, a good 3 or 4 inches. But he gets that big barrel out there and can't hit a ball out of the park.
Here's the 1-strike pitch. Parrish holding the runner, then the throw. Strain is out. That's going to bring Jack Clark to the plate.
Well, you saw Parrish pick that ball up, and you see him pick it up and then look the base runner back right there and then make his throw to first base. What you have to do, because if you don't look him back, why, if it was somebody that could run, not the pitcher, why, he'd get a pretty good lead and then run over to third base. Rodney Scott has done that several times this year for the Expos. And Larry with a big grin.
2 away. A dangerous hitter up there. He's their big RBI man. Might be playable for Perez.
He's got it.
Schatzeder out of a jam after walking the pitcher. On 4 pitches, he got the top third of the Giant batting order to get out of it. No runs, no hits. 1 man left by San Francisco midway in the 6th. No score in the game. Here is clue number 3 for tonight's quiz. Who's the only man ever to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning twice in his career? And our third clue, he holds the National League record for Grand Slam homers. That goes with clue 1, born in Mobile, Alabama. He's played in both major leagues. Clue number 2, he was once an all-star teammate of Duke Snider's. And now our third clue and our final clue. He holds the National League record for Grand Slam homers. We'll have the answer coming up. Bottom of the 6th for the Expos, top of the order against John Curtis. Doing quite a job. We mentioned earlier a 4-5 record overall, but he's 3-3 as a starter, and more than that, recently as a starter. He's done a terrific job. And he's got Warren Cromartie coming up. And we asked the Expos leadoff batter, Warren Cromartie, about facing left-hander John Curtis.
John is the type of pitcher that we've only faced him 1 time, and that's in relief. So as far as we understand, he's got 2 types of pitches, a fastball and a slider. So we can look for pretty much the ball around the plate tonight, and hopefully something to hit, and then we can capitalize on it.
And Warren has the only hit that Curtis has surrendered through 5 innings. And he steps in here to open up the 6th. Warren is 1 for 2.
Warren's right. He has been around the plate, John Curtis. He's walked 2 in the same inning, the 3rd. And he's mixing his pitches up well with that fastball, slider, and curveball. Fastball right there.
Curtis last started on July 6th in a loss to the Phillies.
That was a slider. So Cromartie's gotten both pitches. He's 0-2.
Still 0-2.
Interesting how different clubs play Cromartie. The outfield here shading him a little bit towards right field.
And Curtis struck him out. He's pitching a superb ball game. 4th strikeout for Curtis, and here it is.
Now watch this pitch. It's a slider. See it break away and down. Cromartie, no chance that time. He committed himself too soon on the pitch.
Curtis has only faltered once. That was in the 3rd inning when he walked 2 and gave up a single to load the bases, but he got out of that when Dawson flied out to center. In each other inning of this ball game, he has retired the side in order. 1 strike on Rodney Scott. You can probably tell by the reaction, Rodney did not agree with Bruce Fleming's call. So Rodney called out on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts and 5 in the game for John Curtis. Let's take a look at it. You can be the umpire.
You be the umpire this time.
Wow.
Remember, the catcher is further back. He's a good 3 to 4 feet in back of home plate, so where he catches it does not determine whether it was knee high when it went across the plate. That's what the umpire determines. It's close.
Dawson has hit one that's got Curtis in trouble.
Not quite.
Turned it right there. the best bolt of the night, and it stayed in the park. Nothing for the Expos in the 6th. We'll go to the 7th inning with no score in the game. Stadium through 6 innings, no score in the game. John Curtis working on a 1-hitter, Dan Schatzeder on a 2-hitter, and the middle third of the San Francisco order coming up. Here's a look at the All-Star team, the pitchers. I don't think there's really a surprise there for the year. If there is a surprise, might be Joe Niekro, 34-year-old veteran right-hander, knuckleballer. He's got 13 victories.
That's right, Dave. Maybe Mike Lacoste. He was 8-3.
Ted Simmons was voted as the #1 catcher, but of course he'll not be able to play. He's injured.
That's a mighty fine ball club, isn't it?
You bet. They're the players as voted by the fans. The pitchers, of course, are named by the managers. Bob Lemon of the American League naming his staff yesterday, and the selections you saw there, Tom Lasorda's National League selections. Mike Ivy, part of the crowd here at the stadium tonight.
That's trouble.
That is serious trouble. Cromartie did not move, and Ivy has the Giants in a 1-0 lead. That's the 3rd hit surrendered by Dan Schatzeder, and it puts the Giants in the lead. It's the 12th home run of the year for Mike Ivy. A strong young man, and he hit a bolt way up into the seats in left. And the Giants lead 1-0.
Well, he is a strong young man, and he hits some tape measure home runs, Dave. And one of these days, if he doesn't get too old before McCovey retires, why, he could have a very powerful year and be in the tops in the league in RBIs and home runs.
You saw Warren Cromartie's reaction.
Warren did not move.
And that's up there rattling around. 1 ball and no strikes to Darrell Evans, who's grounded out twice to Perez. American League pitchers will be Tommy John and Ron Guidry of the Yankees. Nolan Ryan and Mark Clear of the Angels. Bob Stanley of the Red Sox. Dave Lemancic of the Blue Jays. Jim Kern, who's an outstanding relief pitcher with Texas. Don Stanhouse doing a great job in the Baltimore Oriole bullpen. Sid Manji of the Cleveland Indians. Three and 1 the count on Evans.
I was hoping that Phil Niekro could make it so the brothers could be on the All-Star team together. Phil and Joe, but didn't work out that way.
Here's a play for somebody on the right side. Rodney Scott wants it. 1 down, and Larry Herndon coming up for the Giants. That's Stan Bonson. Curve for a strike. It's the 5th home run given up by Dan Schatzeder, and Mike Ivy has hit it here to give the Giants a 1-0 lead. That's going to be into the seats. Dan's given up home runs to Joe Ferguson, Dan Dreesen, Art Howe, and George Hendrick. And now Mike Ivy here tonight. Ivy's now hit 3 this year against the Expos. 2-strike pitch. Low and in. 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. We mentioned the left-hand pitcher's record against the Expos, 11-4. That also happens to be the shutout mark. The Expos have only been shut out 4 times. That's all for Herndon. The pitching staff has pitched 11 shutouts, but the Expos have only been blanked 4 times.
The Schatzeder took something off this pitch, turned it over a little bit. Watch it go down and away from Herndon. He was fooled completely on the pitch. It's out of the strike zone.
The top of the 5th inning tonight. Toronto and the Brewers 1-1 at Toronto. We don't have the opportunity tonight to pass on too many scores to you because there's been a technical problem receiving the scores, not just here in our booth, but throughout the press level here at the stadium. Nobody's receiving the out-of-town scores. LeMaster hitting it on the ground for Scott. So after the home run, they went 1-2-3, but the home run has changed this game. A run on 1 hit, Mike Ivey's home run, and now after 6.5 innings, the Giants lead 1-0. Hi, everybody, back here at the stadium. I just mentioned the shutouts, Duke. There have been 11 pitched, 5 of them, of course, by Steve Rogers, who leads the National League in that department. Expos only blanked 4 times. We pointed out how the Giants are a run-scoring machine. So are the Expos. Either one of these clubs tough to hold down. I'm surprised we have a 1-0 game.
Well, I am too, and especially with the left-hander pitching for the San Francisco Giants tonight in Curtis, but he has the control tonight, and the Expos are seeing a left-hander for one of the rare times in the last month, and they're overswinging. They're seeing the ball so good that they're overswinging and lunging at the ball, and that's why they're not hitting the ball. They're not waiting for it to come to them and then popping it.
Okay, here we go back to the action now. Tony Perez, the hitter, 0 for 2. John Curtis working on a beauty here. LeMaster to Ivey. Gary Carter coming up. The 4 pitchers to have shut out the Expos. Doug Rao of the Dodgers, he's now out, of course, injured.
He's a left-hander.
Yeah, he pitched a 1-hit shutout on May 11th, which marked the first time in the season that the Expos were blank. And a couple of days later, on the 15th, strike 1, John Denny at St. Louis pitched a 2-hit shutout against the Expos. The very next day, Bob Forsch, with help from Mark Littell, pitched a 6-hit shutout against the Expos. So 3 of the 4 shutouts were right there in that streak together from May 11th to the 16th. The last one coming on June 27th when Silvio Martinez pitched one for the Cardinals, a 1-hitter. So 2 of the 4 shutouts have been 1-hit gems, a third a 2-hitter, and then Forsch and Littell with that 6-hitter.
And 3 of the 4 pitchers right-handed pitchers, and all with the Cardinals.
One pitch. 2 balls, 1 strike. That's right. So the Cardinals had that hot pitching streak against the Expos, back-to-back by Denny and Forsch, and then.
You know, the concern, my concern anyway, with the Expos right now is that they have not been hitting the ball well the last few weeks. They've won quite a few games, but just think back in the last few games, Dan Schatzeder, the last time he pitched, drove in 2 of the 3 runs that the Expos got. In fact, he drove in the 2 runs that won the ball. I think they got more than 3 runs in the game, but he drove in the 2 runs that put them ahead to stay. And the other night, Bill Lee drove in 2 runs of the 3 that the Expos got. So pitchers driving in some of the runs. They're not scoring that many runs.
Right. Lee won his game 3-0. Steve Rogers' last win, he won 2-1. Base hit for Gary Carter. Hit number 2 off Curtis. Coming here with 1 out in the 7th, and that's going to bring Ellis Valentine up.
And you see what Gary did that time. He made the ball come to him. He's been trying to pull one out of the park, and he made the ball come to him that time and drilled it back through the middle. That's what you have to do against a pitcher like Curtis. He makes his living, makes his bread and butter on guys trying to pull the ball off him. If he makes a mistake inside, then pull it.
So here's Valentine, who has popped up twice, once in foul territory to Ivy and once to the shortstop Lemaster. 0-1.
A couple of strong men standing there together at first base.
Ellis out in front again, as you pointed out a few moments ago. Curtis having the Expos out in front and off balance. John Curtis, originally selected by Cleveland in June of 1966. Turned them down, went on to college. While in college, pitched in the Pan Am Games of the U.S. Valentine out of there, and Curtis really fooled Ellie.
Well, that's the way you have to pitch, Ellie. You've got to show him the fastball, but throw him that off-speed breaking stuff. And Ellie, so anxious to hit, as quite a few of the young hitters throughout the National League are, and they'll chase pitches that aren't strikes.
Larry Parrish steps in, has struck out and popped up. Base hit up the middle. Carter will take third. And again, with 2 outs, the Expos have runners at first and third.
And we'll have a pinch hitter now. Jim Mason due up, a left-handed batter, but Dick Williams will go with the pinch hitter, and I think it'll be Dave Cash. Cash has been the hot man coming out of the dugout. He's walking towards the bat rack right now. Parrish waiting on that curve. Hit it off the end of the bat, but he found a gap up the middle. So he'd be the first one to tell you that was a lucky hit because he came off the ball. Carter alertly going to third as North plays very deep in center field. He plays about as deep a center field as anybody in the league.
It's going to be Dave Cash. Dick Williams going to the hot hand as far as pinch hitting is concerned. And Dave Cash will come up.
And Cash will stay in the game, I think, and play second base. Rodney Scott will move over to shortstop as Spire's still not able to play.
Cash has had 2 pinch hits in his last 3 pinch hit appearances. Both of them doubles, driving in runs. Got one here last night in the 9th inning, a double. It was a key hit of the Expos' comeback in the 9th, and they had to come back from a 7-5 deficit to tie the game and send it into extra innings. The Giants won in extra innings, 11-7. Cash as a pinch hitter is 5 for 13. Last night's hit was a double off Pedro Bourbon, a right-hander.
Bruce Fleming talking now with Larry Shepard. Bruce looks like a little cuddly little thing, doesn't he? If he got long arms.
Dave Cash batting for Jim Mason. Cash against the Giants' overall pinch hittings, 2 for 2.
Pedro Bourbon warming up.
Right, he got a base hit off Vida Blue earlier in the season. Giant left-hander. Irish at first base, Carter at third base. Giants lead 1-0. Curtis trying to get out of this with 2 away. The pitch to Cash. Diving stop by Evans. Out at first base. There's the play of the game. Darrell Evans making a play at third and bailing Curtis out of a jam. That would have tied the ball game up. What a play by the Giant third baseman, Darrell Evans. The Giants lead 1-0. Major League Baseball 79 will continue after station identification.
Wow. The game saver there.
What's it?
Cash at second. Scott at the short.
This Saturday Sports Weekend presents Pan Am Games coverage, Grand Circuit Week harness racing, and the British Grand Prix same-day coverage of that event. Join Ernie Afghani's for another exciting triple header on Sports Weekend this Saturday. And CBC's coverage of Canadian Football League action continues next Tuesday, July 17th. The Montreal Alouettes will meet the BC Lions at Empire Stadium in Vancouver. Enjoy CFL 79 next Tuesday night.
Well, we see the play now. And Cash, it takes quite a while to get out of the box, taking that full swing, but watch the third baseman. A diving play. Now you wonder how he can make that play and still throw Cash out, but watch. It's not even close at first base. Well, maybe we'll have another shot at it. It wasn't close. Take my word for it.
Here's Dennis Littlejohn, the Giants catcher. He's 1 for 2. Giants lead 1-0. Shots that are missing. Ball 1. There's Cash in the game at second, and Rodney Scott is at short. Foul back, strike 1. Home run by Mike Ivey, standing up, and a great defensive play by the veteran Darrell Evans. Littlejohn with one of the 3 San Francisco hits, a single in the third. 2 balls, 1 strike. Center field, Dawson. Got it. Tonight's paid attendance, 15,012, bringing the season total to 842,568 fans. 162,000 ahead of last year, and the club is averaging 22,800 a game. Here is John Curtis. What a job he's done tonight. Pitching a shutout so far through 7 innings. Batting here in the 8th, 1 out, nobody on. He has sacrificed and walked. Strike 1. You know, when we all looked at this Giants ball club on paper, and particularly the pitching staff in springtime, why, they were picked by many. Bouncing ball right side. Scott turns it over to Perez. 2 away. Vida Blue. Dave Cash, rather. Vida Blue, Ed Halicki, Bob Nepper, John Montefusco. People out of the bullpen like Gary Lavelle, Randy Moffett, John Curtis. and some young pitchers that are coming along, and on paper that looked like they had the pitching staff over there in the Western Division. The Dodger staff injured with the operation to Forster, the loss of Tommy John.
Well, the Giants still think they have a chance. They don't think Houston's for real yet. They believe they've got a chance to catch them, and it remains to be seen.
Fouled back by North. Strike one. 2 outs, nobody on, and Bill North up there. Well, the Expos getting a good look at Giant pitching tonight from John Curtis. Oh, he's got them shut out. That's all for North. That's all for the Giants. They go 1-2-3 here in the 8th. The Expos will be coming up with the Giants leading 1-0. Yeah, we'll only have an hour to go.
Warm up Gary Cooper and Teresa Wright.
No more movies. The Expos mascot Youppi on top of the Giant dugout, keeping the Expos fans' spirits up. The Giants lead 1-0 on Mike Ivy's 7th inning home run against starting pitcher Dan Schatzeder, who is now out of the game. Ken Maka will bat for Schatzeder. Maka 1 for 5 as a pinch hitter, 0 for 1 against the Giants. 28-year-old utility infielder. He can also play the outfield. He can catch. And there's John Curtis, the man of the hour right now. Strike call on Maka.
Dave, the Giants have a couple of pitchers warming up. Greg Minton, I believe Gary Lavelle. Gary Lavelle, the left-hander, Minton, the right-hander.
1 ball, 1 strike. Second baseman Strain gets it over to Ivy. 1 away in the Expos 8th, and Warren Cromartie coming up. Watson again in the Montreal bullpen. He'll come on in the top of the 9th inning. And here's Cromartie, who has one of the 3 hits given up by Curtis. He got the first hit in the 3rd inning, and the Expos got 2 hits in the 7th inning, Carter and Parrish. And that great defensive play by Evans to rob Dave Cash of an RBI that would have tied the game up. Base hit. Cromartie is 2 for 4. Rodney Scott coming up. The Giants have a couple of men in the bullpen, right-hander and a left-hander, and 31-year-old John Curtis is going to be paid a visit by his manager, Joe Altobelli. Curtis, who came up with the Boston Red Sox, pitched for a while with the St. Louis Cardinals, now in his 3rd year with the Giants.
He's walking out there like he might take him out of the game.
Yeah, he's making that walk that managers make when they want to give the relief pitcher plenty of time. But now it doesn't look that way.
No.
No, he's going to stay with him.
Let's talk about a possible bunt situation here, I guess, and wanted to tell his fielders just how to play in defense. Rodney Scott.
There's Joe Altobelli, who for years managed in the Baltimore system. Got his chance in the majors with the Giants. One out. Marty at first. Ball one to Rodney Scott.
Well, Rodney Scott, who runs well, not bunting in this situation. He's a tough man to double up. We'll see if he double him up here. A bad flip by the shortstop to the second baseman. And the Expos have a life now with runners at first and third. And Dawson gets another chance to drive a run in.
A fielder's choice to put Scott on, and an error on the shortstop.
Here's the play. LeMaster had plenty of time to get the force at second, but was thinking about two. Flipped it right on by the second baseman Strain, and Cromartie kept going to third base. Well, you'll see it again right here. He had time, but a little bit too quick and offline.
First and third, one out. The runner at third, Warren Cromartie, is a tying run. Dawson is 0 for 3. He's grounded to short, flied to center, and flied to left. Strike one. The Expos have, with Cromartie's hit, out-hit the Giants 4-3, but trail 1-0. Last time Curtis was in a jam, he was superb. There goes Scott. Little John throws, not in time. Stolen base 24 for Rodney Scott.
And the catcher, Little John, made a good throw that time. That pitch down. He got rid of the ball in a hurry. Rodney just in there, and that's to stay out of the double play situation.
1-1 on Dawson. Strike two.
Andre trying a little bit too hard with runners on base right now, and he's over swinging, and then all of a sudden he'll get to thinking up there and then think too much and then not have a good cut at all. So he's got to get himself right and just hit the ball hard somewhere. I don't believe that's deep enough.
Clark in shallow right.
Nope.
Wasn't deep enough, no. So Dawson is out. 2 down, and it's up to Tony Perez.
Well, time and again, Tony Perez has come through in this particular spot. First base open. You have 2 men to pitch to in this situation. You pitch Perez tough and not worry too much about it if you walk him. You have another batter, Carter, coming up next. He's a tough out. But so you'll see what Curtis does here. He'll nibble away at Perez.
Perez hitless tonight in 3 trips.
Look at Tony. Can't be any more serious than that, can you?
Recovered in time. Boy, Evans in the defensive spotlight tonight. No runs, 1 hit, an error. 2 Expos left as they had runners at second and third with 1 out and could not get the tying run in. So the Giant home run by Mike Ivey holds up as we go to the 9th inning. Giants 1, Expos 0.
Dawson's leaving a bunch on, isn't he? Gee whiz.
Well, there's the answer to tonight's quiz. Willie McCovey is also the only man ever to win Rookie of the Year, Most Valuable Player, and Comeback Player of the Year honors. He was Rookie in '59, MVP in '69, Comeback Player of the Year in '77. He played 11 games with Oakland in '76. That's his American League connection. Here's a look at that bobble by Evans, but he stayed with it and recovered in time to get Perez at first base.
Well, a good stretch by Ivy. Just barely got Perez. Perez out of the box as quick as he could get out of there, but Tony not blessed with quite enough speed to beat that one out. Stan Bonson in the game for the Expos.
Dan Johnsoner went 8 innings, gave up 1 run on 3 hits. He struck out 3 and walked a batter.
Dave, I wonder how many of our viewers in the baseball quiz tonight were guessing Henry Aaron. I think he fit almost all of the requirements up until the very last one.
That's right, Don. He, of course, is from Mobile, Alabama. He, too, played in both major leagues. A hammer with the Braves and the Brewers. Also an all-star teammate of Duke Snider's. But the major league record for Grand Slam homers is McCovey's. I'm sure a lot were thinking Aaron. Joe Strain, a rookie second baseman, and Stan Bonson is on the mound to pitch. A 1-0 ball game. Out. Strain lining out to Scott, who's now at short. Moved over there in the last inning.
We have to remember Brody Snyder usually is cute enough to pick somebody that's here in the ballpark. Usually in his quizzes, you have to take that into consideration. A couple of weeks from tonight when we televise, why, take that into consideration in the quiz, okay?
All right, and he'll throw you a real curve. Yeah. Clark takes ball 1. Clark is 0 for 3 against Dan Schatzeder, now facing a right-handed pitcher, Bonson. Bonson, 34-year-old veteran. No decisions this year against the Giants. 4th game he's been in against San Francisco. Scott to Perez.
Well, that game will be August 1st against the Chicago Cubs, so some 3 weeks from tonight. Here he is. He's strong. Look at those arms. Big legs. Had trouble when he first started playing baseball of getting jammed. And now they opened his stance a little. They had a very closed stance. Now almost straight away. So you don't like to play close if you're a third baseman with Mike Ivy hitting. Parrish very deep.
2 strikes on the hitter. Bonson's 25th game overall, 2-1 record, 2.86 ERA, and he got his man, Mike Ivy. 3 up, 3 down inning. Nothing across here for the Giants against Stan Bonson, so that sets the stage for the Expos in the bottom of the 9th. It's the Giants 1 and the Expos nothing. Here's a look at Monson's strikeout of Mike Ivy.
That's a hard slider breaking down and away from Ivy. Mike fooled on the pitch.
Look at Bruce
doing a little dance.
Now, Bruce, he really got with that strike 3 call. Great job. He's done a good job behind the plate tonight. Carter singled his last time up, 1 for 3. Curtis. And again, Evans at third. Making the play. He's taken some wicked shots there. 1 down in the 9th.
The thing about the AstroTurf, the ball gets to you in a hurry, and if it doesn't hit a bad spot in the cutout in the third base area, why, you're okay. You won't get that bad hop, but that's what you have to worry about. Ball hitting a seam or a little speck of dirt and popping up on you.
Valentine 0 for 3. Right field, deep enough, but a foul ball.
Well, Ellie waited on that one good, but a little bit too long as the ball sliced foul about 20-some feet.
Valentine has popped up twice and struck out once. John Curtis. He's completed 1 previous game. Strike 2. There's a look.
Ellie chasing another.
On to Ivy off the bag, who tags Valentine. 2 away in the 9th inning, and Larry Parrish will be the batter. John Curtis now with a chance to become just the 5th pitcher this year to shut out the Expos. He's looking to even his record at 5-5. It would be his 2nd complete game if he gets it here. And it would be his first shutout of the season. Just his 8th start. They've had several injuries on this Giant staff, and some of their healthy pitchers not going that well. It would be a big shot in the arm to get a performance like this from John Curtis. Two 2-0 on Parrish. 3-0. Parrish looking toward third to see if he's got the green light here. .30 pitch. Hit the outside corner. 3-1. Foul back to the screen, 3-2. Curtis trying to put this one away. He did. Struck Parrish out to end the ball game, and John Curtis pitched a dandy here tonight, a 4-hit shutout, as the Giants beat the Expos 1-0. So the Giants a happy ball club. They have made it 2 in a row over the Expos, and for the first time since the Reds swept a 3-game series from the Expos on June 8th, 9th, and 10th. The Expos will lose this series. The best they can do now is manage a win tomorrow night to salvage a game. The Giants have taken the first 2 games of this 3-game series, and that's something no club has been able to do since early June when the Reds swept the series at Riverfront Stadium. So there's a very happy 31-year-old veteran, John Curtis, giving a big handshake to his catcher, Dennis Littlejohn. The Expos going 1-2-3 in the 9th inning. The Giants with 1 run on 3 hits and 1 error. The batting hero was Mike Ivey with a home run, accounting for the only run of this game. For the Expos, no runs, 4 hits, no errors. Dan Schatzeder, the losing pitcher. The Expos left 7 men on base. The Giants left 3 men on base. Curtis the winner, and he's 5-5. Schatzeder, the loser, and he is 4-2 after 3 straight wins. Dan taking a tough luck loss. 1-0 Giants here. We're going to join Don Chevrier and Tony Kubek in Toronto, where the Blue Jays and the Brewers are engaged in their ball game.
Don Brown. Hi, Mike. Don Whitman. How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to record it?
Yeah. Put it on tape.
Okay. That's what, 12 dozen for the year now, eh?
12 or 13, I think. I don't know. I wish it'd all be like that one.
There was no doubt about that.
I got all that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Mike Ivey, one of the stars tonight for the San Francisco Giants. There was no doubt, Mike, about that 7th inning blast.
Well, I tell you, he'd been throwing me pretty good all night. I fouled the ball over here that Tony Perez made a good play on foul territory, which I thought I was on his ball in, but I just made up my mind, look for something up where I could drive and maybe possibly hit the ball hard in the air, and he gave me a ball. I think it was probably a mistake. He wanted to call it back as soon as he threw it, and the ball's in my eyes, and I hit it, and it just happened to go over the fence.
Well, it certainly went over the fence. There was no doubt about it from the moment it left the bat. You're perspiring a lot. Was it that warm and that humid out in the playing field tonight?
Well, I'll tell you, I sweat in 20-degree weather anyway, but no, this is it. To me, this is beautiful baseball weather. It's hot, it's humid, you can sweat, you can get loose and stay loose, but it's good baseball weather.
I've often wondered about athletes coming from the West Coast, coming to the Far East, the big change in time. Does it affect you at all when you come and have to go through that time change?
Yeah, the jet lag does. It affects me, a lot. You got a 3-hour time difference, and a lot of times you fly at night, you come over here, and you got a 3 hours ahead of you, and you got a ball game. You put your head on the pillow, and as soon as you wake up, you got a ball game or a doubleheader. But it does affect you, especially on a short road trip to the East Coast. But when you have a long road trip, you can kind of group yourself to get on the time schedule of the East Coast. But other than that, it's all right. We like to come here.
Mike, the Giants are in chase of the Houston Ball Club, sitting in first place in the National League West. Do you still firmly believe that you can catch them?
I think so. Early in the year, or say the first half of the season, we haven't really what you call combined our pitching with our hitting. We've got super pitchers, we've got superstar pitchers, and they haven't been getting the ball across. They've been walking a lot of people, getting behind. They haven't been making the pitches when they needed the pitches. But we're back in the groove now, and I feel like that we're getting some some good starts from the pitchers that we weren't getting in the first half, and we can combine our pitching with our hitting in the second half. We're going to give them a run for it.
In talking to some of the Giant players prior to the game, they seem to indicate that if they could take a couple from the Expos here, that would give them a big lift.
Well, what we want to do is try to put together a little winning streak before the All-Star break, and got the 3 days to regroup and get our thoughts and collect our thoughts and get regrouped and come back, and we have a workout the last day of All-Star break, and we open up with Philly at home, and we can start from there and start putting together some winning streaks. I feel like that we got the ball club to win it.
Well, that when you sailed over the fence was home run number 12. Had you set any personal goals for yourself for this season?
No, I really haven't. I've been, platooning a little bit with Willie McCovey and doing some pinch hitting and that, but I don't like to put personal goals on myself. I think it adds pressure to you. If you're not starting off to a slow start or whatever, you're starting to look at your goals, what you've set for yourself, and I just go out and play the best baseball that I know how and let things happen.
I'm sure every ball player has a favorite ballpark as well. What about Mike Ivey?
Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta Stadium. That's my hometown, and I was born and raised there. But I like this park. Ball carries real well here in Cincinnati, but Atlanta Stadium's got to be my best.
I think you'd have to say the ball carries real well here after that blast you delivered in the 7th inning tonight.
Thank you.
Mike Ivey, congratulations. A 1-0 victory for the San Francisco Giants over the Montreal Expos. Brownie, I've got Darrell Evans. I'll grab him. Yeah, I'll grab Darrell Evans in a minute. Darrell, could I do a television interview, please?
No, once is enough.
Okay, Brownie. Darrell Evans. We've just switched to the other ball game over in Toronto, but we'll be throwing the interview in on a tape delay basis. Darrell Evans.
That was a great play.
Might to make many times, but I can't start that.
In line with Donald.
Okay. Coming up.
Okay, 5 seconds. 3, 2.
Darrell Evans came up with what has to be described, I suppose, as the play of the game saver in the 7th inning. Those are the type you like to make at third base.
Well, certainly any time during the ball game, in any ball game, you like to make those plays, but it was an important play in this ball game, and I'd said on the radio that I was lucky. I was just trying to really knock the ball down, and the ball went into my pocket. I didn't really, bobble it at all. So as soon as that happens, it was just a reaction to get up and throw the ball. And I think Davey thought that it was probably going to be a double down the line, so I think that he was maybe rounding the bag a little bit. So I got an extra step on him, and that's the kind of things that keep clubs going. And we owe the Expos some ball games. They beat us really bad up here, and they played very well in this ballpark. And we've been in such a slump. It doesn't seem possible you can play this well. So maybe things are changing around for us.
Well, you always like to make the big play. Those big plays, when they come in critical situations in a close ball game such as this, are certainly game savers. It almost seemed as though that ball was by you.
Yeah, it almost was. It wasn't hit real hard, but the hop, I really did catch the ball behind me a little bit, and I didn't go right for the line. I backed up a little bit. If it would have been a little harder hit, I would have probably had to go right for the ball. But it's just a judgment play. Play like I said, that I was mainly trying to just knock the ball down. I was playing cash in the hole. I usually don't pull many balls, and I think it was a breaker ball, and he really didn't hit it very well, but I hit it in the right place, and it went in my glove. So that's you come up throwing, and it's a great play. If you miss it, it's a game winner. So
is that an instinctive type of thing? You just come up throwing. Did you think you had a chance to make the play at first?
Well, as soon as the ball went in my glove, then I knew, I had a shot if I made a good throw. And, it's an instinct thing, but it's also a thing that you work on a lot. And I'm not afraid of diving after balls. And I feel just as well getting a big hit or making defensive play. So
you made a couple of others in that ball game too.
Well, that's part of my job, and I have pride in my third base play, and I've made quite a few errors this year. But I feel like I can come up with the plays when we need them, and it's concentration. In ball games like that, it's very easy when a guy's pitching so well. You're always on your toes, and it seems like in ball games 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, that there's always 2 or 3 great plays, simply because the pitcher's kept you in the ball game, and you're on your toes. You know that every ball hit's important. So sometimes it makes it easier, and sometimes you get just that extra little jump.
I think the Giants also have some confidence that they can catch Houston.
Oh, definitely. We just haven't played well. We've had so many injuries to our pitching staff, and John Curtis tonight has been fantastic for us, last 6 or 7 out, and Phil Nastu also. So with Halecki and Montefusco and still Moffat on the disabled list, they've got to get back in shape. And you looked at it coming out of spring training that we felt like it was going to be a year like last year where our pitching was going to do it for us. If we could score a few more runs. Now we're leading the league in runs scored, and if we put the pitching from last year, the hitting with this year, we'd be way out in front. But we feel like the same way Houston's in the same boat that we were last year, that they're way out in front, and they're looking behind them, and they're not really playing relaxed, and they're going into the All-Star break, and they're feeling like, well, we got to keep this lead going in the All-Star break. If we can chip away at 2 or 3 more games and get down to 7 or 8, then I think we're in real good shape. We were in the same position last year, and all of a sudden 2 teams went right by us.
I think a lot of the fans may have been wondering about the trading of Madlock. What was the reaction of the players?
Well, I think that overall, we felt like that we probably didn't get enough for him. A 300 hitter, you seem like you should get a Seaver or somebody, a Suter, somebody in that caliber. But it was really a trade that we had Joe Strain in the minor leagues, so he was kind of part of that trade, where we had somebody that they felt they wanted to play, and that they felt was ready and that could take over Bill's job. And certainly he's a better defensive second baseman. He doesn't have to hit that 300. Not many people do. So it stabilized our infield a little bit, and Bill's gone. We have to play without him now, and certainly that's a big bat in the lineup. But Joe's played very well for us, and we may have gotten a prize in Ed Whitson. He didn't pitch. He was a little wild last night, but he pitched one real good ball game for us already. And we've got Pedro Barbon, too, who's capable of, being one of our stoppers. So we've got some quality players in that trade, and we feel like shoring up our pitching staff, that we'll be fine. That trade's over with, and we gotta go from there.
Okay, Darrell Evans, congratulations on a fine performance tonight, and good luck to the San Francisco Giants over the balance of the season.
Thank you very much. Okay.
The final score here, the San Francisco Giants won, the Montreal Expos no score. Now let's rejoin Don Chevrier and Tony Kubek.
Okay.
A little bit like Stargell.
Mm-hmm. Throw out of Parrish. Yeah. Yeah. Where did they throw him out at?
Throwing out Parrish.
They didn't throw
where?
Parrish out anywhere. There's no throw out of Parrish.
Parrish